That's it.
Here we go.
Thanks, Jim.
That's okay. You're welcome. Oh, hello. Welcome to the £800 Agile Gorilla. We're just getting ourselves warmed up. I'm Jem Jalal. This is
Tobias Mayer.
Hello. We are back at it in the 42 acres premises in this beautiful, very different type of office space. Is it even an office space? We shouldn't even call it that, should we?
It's a gathering space.
That's better.
Yeah.
Because there are plants here. There are plants. You don't see many of those in offices. Let me get into it. Okay, what we're going to talk about today is managers.
Well, there was the question, wasn't there, from someone, should managers be at the retrospective? Which is, it's a specific question, but it can be, we can generalise out from that. So I think it's a, the more broad question, I suppose, is what is a retrospective and who should be there, and what is the point of it?
Yeah.
All of that, really, wrap all that up.
Yeah, I mean, this is a, I don't want to use those terms because we're going to dovetail into that conversation about a safe space. A retrospective, though, for me is...
Oh, yes, that's another interesting topic. We'll do that one too soon.
That will come
one
as
of
well.
these days.
Watch out for that one. A retrospective, we get to talk about all the things that went well and all the things that didn't go well in a space whereby people speak their mind. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's really what it is, right? People do retrospectives without calling it all the time, as friends, as families.
Sure they do. I mean, so the thing is the question just about retrospecting in general, which you might also call just reflecting, or you might call it introspection.
Yep.
But if we're talking specifically about Scrum retrospectives, then the question, should managers be at the Scrum retrospective? The answer must be no, because there are no managers. So who would these people be? They don't exist. So no, they wouldn't be there. And even if there were managers hanging around, the answer again is no, they shouldn't be at the Scrum retrospective. So that would be the end of that video if we just stopped there.
This is true, but I get the feeling that, so when somebody spoke about this to me before, and I said, when I say managers, what do you mean by managers? And they said, well, product owner, which was interesting. And so I asked about their situation, and they said, well, our product owner can't come to our retro because the guys won't talk.
Right.
So I feel like, it does go to a different place, but there's something interesting in that. I don't know if we can dance around that point a little bit, because the product owner is somebody who has authority over a vision and priority of work being done in their roadmap, but they're not someone who has authority over people. No,
or how the work is done.
Exactly.
So let's talk about the purpose of a retrospective in Scrum first of all, right? We have 2 reflection meetings at the end of every sprint, right? The first one is called a review meeting, and it is to review the work that has been done.
Yes.
The deliverable, the thing that we're building for the customer. So we have customers there.
Yep.
So they can accept it or reject it or have conversations with you about what to do next.
Okay.
So it's a big meeting with everyone's invited. It's a big kind of party.
The organisation could be there if they wanted to.
Anyone could be there, yeah. Right. Anyone who's interested in the product can be, and should be, I would say, should be there. So that's a nice big party meeting. Everyone's there. We can all talk about what worked, what didn't work in terms of the product.
Yes.
Then each team, now remember when we're doing Scrum, we often do have multiple teams. Each team needs to do their own retrospective.
Yep.
And they need to, they do this because they're trying to improve the process that they are creating.
Yes.
Scrum is not a process, it's a framework that allows you to emerge your own process.
Yes.
So each team needs to each team alone needs to get together with each other in the same team and talk about how they're going to improve the way they work together and their relationships with one another.
Yes.
Right. Now, there might be a need for a different meeting, which is multiple teams coming together to figure out how do we work. How do we work with healthy dependencies, to go back to that other one talk we had a few years ago or weeks ago, whenever that was. And so working out dependencies between teams, that's another kind of retrospective. So what's the product owner's or the manager's role in all of that? Probably not a lot, really, because they're not there on a day-to-day basis figuring out how to resolve problems as they go. That's the people who are doing the work. That's their job.
Yeah, and there's 2 things I'm picking up from this. It's a bit like, when I think of the sprint review, I think of you want to demonstrate what you've built and have some level of dialogue with the product owner, the stakeholders and stuff. You want to inspect and adapt your roadmap with your backlog. We went for this amount, we got this amount, fine. I feel like if you're doing the sprint review well, that may appease the need that some managers may have to know about what's going on. Do you see what I mean? So if they come to the review and they get the transparency and see the progress and they get some dialogue with the team, maybe that would address their need of wanted to come to the retro. Could you see what I'm saying? So if you don't do the review, I can understand whereby, you know, people are like, hey, how do I get time with the team?
Most people, a lot of people, haven't made this transition between measuring people and measuring product.
Yeah.
So Scrum is, right from the beginning, it's been very clear on you don't measure people, you measure outcome, output, results, measure results. Measure how much work is remaining, how much work is done, not who's doing what.
Yep.
So, but in the old paradigm of managing, it's like you have to watch what people are doing. You assign them work. If they don't do it, that's bad. If they do it, that's good, and they get more.
Yeah.
And so you're constantly measuring people. But we don't do that in Scrum, and so it's a hard shift for people to make. So I think, well, I have to be at the retrospective because otherwise I won't know what people are doing.
Yes.
But without actually saying, do I need to know what people are doing? And the answer is no, you don't actually. You don't need to know what they're doing. You need to know what the output, the outcome is from their work.
And this is what I mean by, for someone who comes from a strong a paradigm of micromanagement, give them transparency, but transparency in the right place, not in the retro, but the review. Can I just ask another question though? You know, when you said, let's say, you know, you said product managers. If we were to touch on the product owner nuance, a team that doesn't have their product owner come to their retro, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, so there's never a simple yes or no to the product owner at retro's question, right? So in the Scrum Guide is written as a guide for one team Scrum, right? So they talk about the Scrum team, which is some developers, a product owner and a Scrum Master, they're all part of the same team.
Yep.
So the argument then is if they're part of the team, they should all be at the retrospective, which is a
that.
fair argument.
Yeah.
And it would probably work with single team Scrum. Because you've got a very close relationship with your product owner, you're probably seeing quite a lot of him or her, and you would want to reflect and talk to them at the end of each sprint in terms of process and how the process is going. That makes sense.
Yep.
The problem is when you scale up, and the only logical way I know of scaling up is to use less or something very similar to less, because it's the most natural way of scaling. So you've got multiple teams all working on the same product, but you have one product owner.
Yeah.
You do not have multiple product owners. There is not a relationship, a one-to-one relationship between a team and a product owner. There is a one-to-one relationship between a product owner and a product. Right? So if you've got 10 or 20 teams working on a product, you have one product owner. How on earth is that product owner going to go to 10 or 20 retrospectives every sprint?
Yeah, I'm with you.
It doesn't make any sense, does it? It's illogical. It's impossible.
And the dynamic shifts as well, right?
Yeah.
If you're one product owner amongst, let's say, several teams of 10 people, you're not going to have that kind of entrepreneurial startup feel where you're close to it. But you know, at the same time, there's no straight answer. But I can sometimes see it as a little bit of a red flag when a product owner is not able to come to the retrospective because the team are afraid to talk.
Well, that's a whole different problem.
Yeah.
That's not a question of whether the product owner needs to be at this meeting or not at this meeting. The question is, why do we have such a fear-driven organisation?
Yeah.
Let's look at that.
Yeah.
Right? You don't look at that in a retrospective. Retrospective is a process improvement meeting.
Yeah.
We're not talking about process, we're talking about relationships.
Yes.
Have a new meeting, call it relationship building or something. Come to a place like this.
There you go.
42 acres.
Sure
It's very beautiful here, and it makes you feel like you want to be a kind person when you're in this space. It might just be entering the space. It might just be enough, you know.
Something about structuring environment affecting how you feel. You know, so I mean, the answer here then is, it sounds like there is no depends, and
There's no what?
There's no depends on this kind of. Or it depends. If a manager wants to come to a retro, I'd understand what they actually need.
They're asking for something, aren't they?
Yeah, exactly. But politely educate them on what the retro is for.
Yeah.
And that's why I go back to your point about the review, which I think that gives them the transparency that they need.
Yep.
And I can understand why many people end up falling into the trap of having managers at the retro, because they just may want to appease people and they can't have that tough conversation.
Yep.
And you need to have it.
Yep.
You know, but we all know about MDD, mortgage-driven development. It can do funny things to your voice. So, I think this is one of those guerrilla vlogs where we're quite clear on the outcome of this one, aren't we?
I mean, the thing is, the meeting itself has a very specific purpose. You know, it's the people doing the work on a daily basis, figuring out how to do the work better on a daily basis. Now, if you're not involved in doing the work on a daily basis, then stay out of the way. It's not your meeting.
Yep.
If you need to talk to people about something else, relationships or process or something that's pertinent to you, set up another meeting. Remember, Scrum does not say you must only have these meetings that are listed in the book.
Yep.
It doesn't say that, or the guide rather. You can have as many meetings as you want.
Well, I think this is where there's that fundamental misunderstanding of Scrum being a methodology versus a framework.
Yeah, exactly.
And it would be good to remember that. Yeah. And when we say stay out of the way, I think there are ways to say that to people in terms of, like you just said, they're coming and they're asking because they need something. Figure out what they need and educate.
Yeah. Yep.
I think we done with that one?
I'm done with that one, yeah. I'm done with my tea too. It was really nice, thank you.
You're most welcome. Well, you're very, very welcome. Doing it with the out of the bags. The real deal is wonderful. There you go.
The loose leaf tea.
Loose leaf tea. There you go. That's the proper stuff.
All right.
Guys, thank you very much. We look forward to your interactions, your feedback, your critique, and also your compliments.
We could do with some of that, couldn't we? Yeah, some love.
Yeah, we get a bit of imposter syndrome out here as well, you know. All right, thank you guys. Cheers.
Bye.
Bye.